But people ask me, why are you running? Why did you announce against her? And I tell them it's quite simple. I respect Senator Feinstein. I respect her service. She has a philosophy of government that I just simply disagree with. And the disagreement I have with her is that she believes that essentially the way for good government is to work across the aisle, compromise, and I do think that is a time for compromise. I do think that that has worked in the past, and I do think that working across the aisle can be an effective method. There is a time for compromise. This is not the time. We are at a unique time in history where we must have people who are willing to fight. We can't have people who are saying, well, we'll work with them on this, we'll work with them on that, when they're not willing to work with us at all. We had a president for 8 years who every time he opened his mouth, the entire Republican Party said no, period, end of story. You can't work with people across the aisle when they start with saying no. We have to have fighters. We have to have people who are willing to stand up. When Dianne Feinstein said a couple of weeks ago, when she announced and said, we need people who go back to Washington and work with people. We do not need rabble-rousers back in Congress. I disagree. We need rabble-rousers. We need people who are willing to raise a little hell right now and talk about the issues. She once said at a meeting in Los Angeles, she got a little agitated and said, well, what is it you people want? And she said, what can one senator do? Well, one senator can do a lot if they're willing to do it. We have one senator who has basically put single-payer health care on the map in this country. We have another senator, Elizabeth Warren, who's basically put income equality on the map in this country. One senator can do a lot if they're willing to do it. So my philosophy is this, or my reason is, we need somebody who's willing to fight. My background is as a fighter. That's who I've been. For 25 years, I've been a criminal defense and civil rights attorney in the Los Angeles area. Every single day of my life, I've woken up and I fought. That's what I've done for a living. I fought for people who were guilty, and I fought for people who were innocent. I fought for people who were rich, and I fought for people who were poor. And I fought for people of every race, creed, color, sexual orientation. Every single morning, I got up and fought. Because that's what I do for a living, and that's what I believe we need in the United States Senate now. I'm willing to say this about my philosophy. It comes, unfortunately, most of my philosophy comes from movies and old movie quotes. My current philosophy is, and kind of goes along with this campaign, comes from a quote from the movie The Untouchables. Some of you may remember. A scene where Sean Connery is talking to Kevin Costner about how in the world, and Kevin Costner says, how do we get Al Capone? And Kevin Costner says to him, or excuse me, Sean Connery says to him, you want to get Al Capone? He brings a knife to a fight, you bring a gun. He puts one of yours in the hospital, you put one of his in the morgue. That's the Chicago way. That, to me, is what we need to be doing in Congress. Donald Trump says we're going to eliminate the DACA program. We come back and say, no, we're not. We're going to provide a path for citizenship for everybody. Donald Trump says we're going to push for more for-profit prisons. We come back and say, no, you're not. We're eliminating for-profit prisons. Donald Trump says we are going to eliminate people on Medicare and Medi-Cal, huge numbers of them. We come back and say, no, it's time for Medicare for all. That is the progressive way, and that's what we've got to do. But I will tell you this, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it by doing what Dianne Feinstein did a night after she announced she was running. First thing she did, she went to Beverly Hills, to the home of a billionaire, and held a fundraiser with a lot of elected Democratic officials and a lot of other billionaires. And the optics, the first thing in the press about her running was standing around a swimming pool sipping champagne with a bunch of millionaires and billionaires. And we wonder why the Democratic Party is losing working men and women. That's why. We have to get back to our roots. We have to be able to go out and talk to people. We don't need to be in Beverly Hills. We need to be in the hills of Shasta. We need to be talking to real people. The night that she was in Beverly Hills, I was in a dive bar in Sonora, and I won't tell you the whole story, but if you come to me later on,
I probably know it.
talking to people. Because that's what we need to be doing, talking to real people, real voters with real concerns. I have set up my campaign so that I stay pretty much in communities where people aren't being talked to. Over and over I hear people from Sonora and Eureka and Weaverville and here in Fresno saying, nobody comes and talks to us. They don't listen to what we have to say. I will. I promise you. And here's what I'm hearing over and over. Because I am a progressive, and I take that label proudly. I can talk about issues, and I'll be happy to talk to any of you about criminal justice reform and renewables, 100% renewables in 25 years, and a number of programs that I believe in. But that's not what we've got to focus on. You drive down the street, and you look to your right, and you look to your left in the cars, and the people in those cars aren't sitting there worrying about 100% renewables in 25 years. They're worried about whether they're going to be able to pay their rent in the morning, whether they're going to be able to put food on the table for their kids. They're worried about whether or not they can actually make their bills for that month. And they're worried if they're going to have to take a third job in case they have some sort of a health care problem, whether they're going to have to take a third job just so they can pay that or avoid bankruptcy. That's what people are interested in. And we've got to show them that we're serious about helping them. We're listening to them. We've got to show them that far from being in Beverly Hills with millionaires and billionaires, the Democratic Party is the working man and woman. 40 years ago, you walk down the street, you ask anybody you run into, who's the party of the working people? Every single person says, well, the Democratic Party. Do that now, and you're going to get 50% of the people going to say, neither one. Neither party cares about the working man and woman. We've got to get back to that. We have to start explaining to people, we care about your rent. We care about you putting food on the table. We're going to do something about it. We're going to work on income tax credits. We are going to sit down and talk about how we can help in terms of retraining for better jobs. We're going to talk to you about ways, for example, that we can actually have an income you can earn while you're retraining for a better paying job. These are things we have to deal with people because that's what their concerns are. And when we start as progressives, this is the one thing that bothers me, and I, like I said, as a progressive, I can be guilty of this myself. We start complaining about each other, eating our own. What we need to be doing is we need to be focusing on broadening our base. Because the one thing progressives are wrong about, and I'm one of them, is we think we're the majority. We're not. We may be getting to be the majority of the Democratic Party, maybe, maybe not. But there are Republicans and independents in the state. And until we start talking to them, until we start addressing their issues and show the commonality we have, we're not going to make it. We're not going to be the winning party. And finally, I'll just add one last thing. Every single issue in this campaign, every single issue, whether it's single-payer health care, whatever it is, criminal justice reform, every single thing is underlined by corporate donations and money. Everything. Dark money and corporate donations rule every single issue. Until we get serious about campaign finance reform, about getting money out of politics, and going back to where congressmen and congresswomen's votes are not being paid for, we're not going to get serious about solving these problems. That's got to be first and foremost. I do not take corporate donations. I will only take individual donations, which, coincidentally, we have envelopes in case anyone feels the need, desire. We see some of my staff here. We would love to have you take. I will tell you this, and I'll just end with it. I want very much to be the next U.S. Senator. Let me have a chance to talk to you. Give me the opportunity. Let me talk to you. Because I tell you, I'm a fighter. I know how this works. I can win this thing. I need your help. I'll be back in Fresno. I come up here regularly. I'll be back in Fresno November 30th. I don't know what the schedule is tonight. I don't know how long you guys will be going. I do have to drive back, unfortunately. But I'll stick around for a while, and hopefully we can talk, hopefully until the end of the meeting. And if so, we can talk to them. If not, please contact us. There's sign-up sheets. Go to the website. Thank you so much for letting me talk to you.